question they want us asking is, who in the heck is the Dragon Reborn? Let's talk about episode 4 of the Wheel of Time. This episode was one of the better ones in my opinion so far, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit while you watch this time-lapse recording of a painting that I did of Nynaeve, which I actually just sold out of the limited edition prints for it. But yeah, let's dive in here. So today you've got me in my studio in Edmonton, Alberta here, where I run a little animation studio with my business partner. I'm just taking a little bit of a break from my work to put this together for you. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of my reflections from this episode. I felt like it was very, very different than the books. It's probably the one that has most deviated from the content or the structure of the books in terms of events, sequencing, locations, character dynamics. Although there are things that are similar, I'm really enjoying the relationship between Nynaeve and Lan. Again, one of my biggest joys so far in this show is just how the cast are killing their roles. They're really like pulling just everything that I hoped I would see in the characters out, and just really loving the dynamic between them as well. It's been really awesome. I loved Logain and his portrayal. I loved the change in the way that they've sort of changed how he is I guess integrated into the story at this point. Really cool changes there. I'm excited to see what else they do with him in the future here. Really awesome character, one of my favorites from the books, and I think that Alvaro Morte is just destroying that role. He's just awesome, so good, and I really enjoyed how they've brought all that together. I did like one thing I heard from Daniel Green, I think it was, that mentioned that structurally, in terms of the filming, he thought that they could have put that scene in Galdon at the start of episode 4, at the very start of the series, in place of the Red Aja with the 2 random orders. I think that would have been good as well. I agree. I apologize if you can hear noise in the background. There are other people in this office space, so this is the best I can do today. It's been a bit of a crazy time for me with juggling vehicles with my daughter, who's now driving, and all these different things going on. So this is what we get. Also using a different mic, so I hope the sound quality is okay. Anyways, so yeah, I feel like episode 4, the biggest thing for me was that I felt like it really solidified itself as its own series now, that it's just like become its own thing, almost apart from the books. It really does, because of this episode, feel like it's been talked about as being a different turning, or a new turning, another turning of the wheel, and I really feel that, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the way that it's structured, and I think episode 4, it became its own entity, and it's really starting to get legs underneath it, which is really great. I'm super excited to see episode 5 and to see where they take the characters. Yeah, like Logain, what's going to happen with him, what is going to happen between Nynaeve and the Aes Sedai, now that all that stuff's happened. Are we going to see some more channeling from Egwene? Are we going to see more integration of the wolves with Perrin? Is there going to be more stuff going on with Matt and the dagger? What are all those pieces going to look like? I'm assuming in the next episode they're going to be in Tar Valon. So that's going to be interesting to see kind of what that all brings out in the characters and the circumstances that they find themselves in. I think that this episode did a really good job of raising some interesting questions. So with Nynaeve, I'm still curious kind of like what they're going to say happened with that. It was weird because for everybody who doesn't know the books well, there's going to be a bit of, I'm going to talk about stuff here. I'm going to get into things between the books and the show. There's going to be a bit of spoilers potentially, so be warned. Most of my content that I put out there is spoiler full. I don't take care in, I guess, alleviating that happening for you guys. So I apologize if that's a challenge for you. But so in the books, male channelers cannot see female channelers weave and vice versa. So I was a little bit confused at the end of episode 4, and maybe you guys have some thoughts on it. Please leave some comments below if you do. I was a bit confused because in the end, I love that scene, and I love how Logain responded and everything. And his response was like a raging sun. And it seemed like what we were seeing was weaves coming out of her, but maybe it was light. So maybe she was weaving light as well as doing the weaves to heal at the same time. And so maybe he just saw the light being woven, didn't see the healing weaves take place. It was a bit confusing. I was like, wait, what? How did that happen? That actually brings me back to a couple other things that I'm really curious to see what they do about, which I didn't mention in my last video, but was thinking about the white cloaks and how they were, him and Valda was doing horrible things and eating while the yellow sister was, yeah, all that stuff was going on. It was horrible. But I was like, how did he do that? So I had a couple of thoughts around that too. I don't know if they're changing some of the metaphysics around stuff for the show, because I noticed they've got all these like dynamic hand movements and stuff, like the Aes Sedai are doing kung fu while they're channeling, which I don't mind. Like in a film sense, it's kind of neat to see them doing stuff, although I feel like they probably could have achieved that without all the hand waving. It's like D&D spells where there's like somatic and verbal components where they have to like do different things to be able to make a spell happen or whatever. But that's in the books, that's not how we see the power portrayed. So I'm curious if there's some motion and stuff required for Aes Sedai to be able to channel in the lore of the TV show. And if they remove their hands, they can't channel anymore. Or maybe it's tied to their ring. I don't know. Those things are all a little bit weird to me. I'm not sure yet what that all means or what they've done with that. But like, so those little potentially metaphysical changes, I'm not sure. I had a few thoughts about that. Maybe the white cloaks have fork root tea, which is a thing that they use to sort of dampen the ability to channel. Maybe they were in a setting, which would be really weird because I don't think the Ogier would allow that. And then maybe I thought perhaps the white cloaks have channelers, which would be really, really weird. And they were blocking the sister. Or maybe they hire mercenary channelers to hunt down sisters. I don't know. It'd be really weird. All that stuff would be very strange. But I don't know. We don't know. It could be anything at this point because of what we've seen, kind of the deviations with things. Anyways, coming back to some of those metaphysical changes, maybe they've got something different in the metaphysics around channeling between men and women. I know there's talk of like the dragon reborn potentially being a woman or a man. If they were to change the dragon reborn to a woman, maybe Nynaeve is channeling the male half of the source, and so Logain's seeing her channel, and maybe the Aes Sedai didn't see her channel. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. The thing is, they're kind of leaving it open to anything. I believe that we know who the Dragon Reborn is and that they wouldn't change that. I feel like that would be a fundamental shift in things. But yeah, we don't know. So those are some of my questions around sort of that were raised for me around the metaphysics of the whole situation and what's going on. Some of those things would make it extremely different than the books. And I don't think that those things are coming, but so yeah, those were my questions for that. Mat, Rand, and Tom, loved that sequence of them together. I really enjoyed. I've heard some people say that they didn't like Tom's speech. They felt it was maybe lacking some emotion. I actually thought it was really good. I thought that the way that it was, the context in which it was delivered was good, and how he's like, you know, trying to be supportive. I miss all of the time that those guys spent together in the book. And again, this comes back to one of my challenges with the show. It just feels like a rapid pacing issue a little bit with the show. And again, I get it. It's hard to make as many episodes as you would want to make just financially and just logistically. Rafe is probably really struggling to keep all this together and pull it all together in the confines of what he is working within, and the team. And so I think probably the pacing of it is just what it is. And I don't, it is what it is. We can't get anything different because it's what it is. But I do miss some of the length of time that they spend together in the books. I feel like it gives, similar to my criticisms or my concerns with the Two Rivers, where things are just paced so fast that we just don't get those buy-ins to those relationships as much. When Tom stayed behind to fight the Fade, I didn't feel it as much as I did in the books, because there was more of a depth of relationship there between the three of them when that happened, when that occurred. That scene was crazy, and I did really enjoy the Matt with the dagger and him seeing the Fade and all those pieces. And there's so much there. I'm not actually going to go into it for anyone who's not familiar with the show. A lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipe at some point with Matt that I'm just very excited to see what they do with it. And I think it'll be interesting when the season's over to go back and rewatch stuff and then have conversations with people who didn't know, aren't familiar with the books, and they now have the context of the whole season, and they can revisit some of those nuances that they're missing at this stage of things if they've never read it before. It's just really fascinating. One of the best things about the show for me has been having conversations with non-readers, and how this show has opened up these doors to be able to have these conversations, and it's just really exciting and super cool. So yeah, those things I'm just really looking forward to seeing all that. I absolutely loved the stuff with the Tinkers. I loved how Perrin's internal battle is being reflected in this conversation that he had. I just thought that was just really well handled. The question of him dealing with his anger, his internal struggle and anger at what he has done, and then sort of this question of non-violent action in response to outside pressure and violence being, put upon you. It's all really cool, and I think this is going to lead into what we're going to see with Perrin in the next couple episodes, and decisions that he's going to have to make. He's going to be forced to make, which is like really cool to think about how that is all going to play out and how that's going to affect him in a personal way and also in an interpersonal way with the other characters. So yeah, I don't know. I know that there's been a whole bunch of changes. I know there's been mixed responses to the show, but now seeing how everything's kind of coming together, I feel like they have, like Rafe has talked about, the spine and the heart. The first few episodes left me feeling like maybe they ripped the spine out, and I was hoping the heart is still in there. And then vice versa, I've kind of flip-flopped, but now I'm starting to see, and I think as we see this season unfold, we're going to see that that's what they've actually done in the best way that they could with the time they've been allowed to put into the show, and allowed for different character development and different context and cultural development and all of the pieces that Wheel of Time is. It's such a broad, crazy story and a huge, massive world. And I think that we're going to be left in the end feeling like, yeah, they actually did justice to this whole thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I think those are all my thoughts that I wanted to share around episode 4 for now. Before I sign off, I just want to say thank you again to all my patrons who have been supporting me faithfully on Patreon and being a part of my journey. I'm currently still working through a 100 portrait challenge. I'm on number 57, I think, or 58, and still working on getting to that goal. Obviously, the completion in 2021 is out of the realms of reality at this point, so I'll complete it in 2022. But it's coming along, and I'm learning lots, and I feel like I'm still growing through the process, so that's all very positive. I am feeling very motivated to continue to do more Wheel of Time fan art with the show now being out. I think I did a little compositional study of one of the scenes from the show, and I think I'm going to pursue some of those now and then, really quick one-offs, just to kind of keep the wheels greased and explore some really beautiful shots from the show and share those with my patrons, and then subsequently with social media. I release everything early on Patreon typically, and I also have the rewards that each patron level gets throughout the month. So I encourage you to go to patreon.com/Corey Lansdell if you're interested in exploring what that looks like. Of course, you can get prints of my work on my Etsy store, link in the doobly-doo below. And yeah, I think connecting with me on Instagram is the best way, at Third Age Art. That's my Instagram handle. And until, I guess, next time, I hadn't planned on doing these videos for every episode, but I really enjoyed reflecting on it, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. So until then, if I'm back for episode 5, thank you for listening. Goodbye. Just wanted to let you know quickly that this limited edition print is available in my Etsy store. You can find it on etsy.com and just search for Corey Lansdell. I'll put a link in the description below, but was happy to put this one together in partnership with Prime Video UK.